Good morning, plant friends. It's me, your mom. I cut my hair and redyed it so it looks different now. If you don't have a positive opinion, I don't want to hear it. Today I'm going to tell you about 10 timeless plants that you can have in your plant collection. I keep these plants myself. I love them very much. And in my opinion, I feel like they can't really be ever outdated because of the qualities that they have. Before we get into this video though, thank you so much to Zimpf for sponsoring this video. Zimpf is where I get all of my glasses, and you can use code Ashley at checkout to get 50% off frames and 20% off lenses. The pair I'm wearing right now is called Aphrodite. It's literally my everyday pair and I've been wearing it for over a year now. I love it very much. I'll have new styles to show you soon, but for now, let's get into the plants. So the first plant I want to tell you about is called the Begonia GreenChlorosticta. This is a plant that is a very high humidity loving plant, but it can also learn to tolerate lower humidity. I have some friends that keep it in cabinets that don't even have a full waterproof or like humidity insulation. I know other people who keep it in cloches, and I know some people who just keep their house the right humidity levels and they just keep it out in their house, which blows me away. Plants like this will always do better in a closed environment, though you can convince them to live outside of a closed environment. The reason that this plant is so special is because it is a very fast grower. It is very easy to propagate. It's probably one of the least fragile terrarium begonias you could have in your entire collection. It has this really cool striking green and then kind of like blue-red pattern. It has red veins on it, and then sometimes, depending on how sun-stressed it is, it might look like the red Chlorosticta, which is a completely different plant. They're not completely different plants. They're like the same plant, but different varieties, kind of. Does that make sense? But yeah, the green Chlorosticta is not the red Chlorosticta, but they can look like each other sometimes, depending on how much light you're giving them, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Because of the fact that they're such fast growers, they're so easy to propagate and share with your friends, and the ways they can look different. And I mean, like, there's so many times I've literally just cut a leaf off of mine, stuck it somewhere else in my wall, and it's just taken off. I have one in every single enclosure closed growing situation I have, and some of them I have multiple. They're doing so good. I highly recommend, and I really don't feel like this plant will ever be out of style. The next plant I want to talk about is called the Syngonium lance leaf. This is a Syngonium that has a very narrow leaf, which is very cool. Most plants that you see are kind of like heart-shaped, or they're long, or they're like kind of round, but this one is very narrow and very long, and it continues to get longer as it gets bigger. And depending on the kind of growing environment that you keep it in, it will definitely keep getting a lot bigger. Mine also is really hardy. I've hardly taken care of it and it still is doing super well. I actually just took a big cutting of it and gave some to a couple friends recently, and it's still doing really good. It's just such a unique one to look at. It's like, because of the fact that most plants, like I said, are round or like heart-shaped, having one in your collection or like in your closed growing environment that is so long like it is, it's just striking. Like, it naturally sticks out, and I think it looks really nice. I don't think that this one will ever run out of style because of the fact that it looks so different. It's definitely one that you'd look at and be like, oh my gosh, what's that? And multiple times when people come over to my house, they're like, what is that? And I'm like, that's the Syngonium lance leaf. It's very cool. This one is a medium rate grower, so there's like some plants that I say that are really fast or really slow, and this is a plant that I would say is like, it doesn't grow fast, it doesn't grow slow, but it does grow. It's not going to grow as fast for you as a Philodendron or like a Syngonium apophyllum, but it will grow fast enough that you will notice a difference in your plant. The next one I want to talk about is Ficus Velosa, and unlike a lot of different ficus that feel like they definitely come from an age, for example, Ficus benjamina, which was super popular in the 90s and early 2000s, you saw it everywhere, even fake versions of this plant. The Ficus Velosa is a terrarium growing vine, and it grows so fast. It also gets very big, and it's fuzzy. It has texture. It's so cute. I have one in every single one of my closed growing environments, and they all do so well. You can literally cut it and stick it somewhere and it will just take off. I highly recommend this one for the fact that not only is it super easy to take care of as long as you have any humidity at all, but it's also really beautiful. The texture is really nice. It's easy to share, and it's just like, to me, it's like one of the most fulfilling plants that I have. I'm pretty sure I got mine from Max, but I could could be wrong about that. Ficus Velosa is just one of those plants that you can't grow wrong with. You can also grow it outside of a closed growing environment as long as your house or like environment that you're in is humid. I know people who grow it on their trees in Florida or, you know, whatever. So I really recommend this plant. I love this plant and I think that you would love it too. The next one I want to talk about is the Philodendron verrucosum. This plant has a lot of different variety to it. There are many different Philodendron verrucosum out there. The one that I have, I really like because it gets very freaking big, very fucking massive. Mine is getting really big too for the first time. I'm letting it grow, which is unusual for me. I will normally cut my plants when they start to get too big because I really prefer small plants. In my bigger cabinet, it's actually getting very large, which has been really fun to watch. I don't know. This next leaf that's gonna come out is gonna be really big, so I'm really excited about that. The reason that I think that this plant will be timeless is because of the fact that it has fuzzy stems. Lots of different philodendron out there that do have fuzzy stems, but this one is such easy care. This one is harder to propagate than the other ones I have mentioned on this list so far. You definitely would want to make sure that you air layered it or did some kind of pre-rooting method before you cut it, just to make sure that there's anything there. Verrucosum in general don't really love just being cut and then stuck in soil, water. You might get away with water if it already has some fuzzy aerial roots, but I've really noticed that there's no reason not to air layer if you have the ability to air layer. So I really recommend air layering this one before you cut it. You can stick it anywhere once it's air layered, but it has this really beautiful depth to it. It has like very dark kind of veins on it, and then the back of the leaves have this red, and then there's green like intervein areas. Like it's almost like it just looks like a pillow, whereas most leaves that are heart-shaped are like, they don't have that much depth to it. The verrucosum is not only a velvet leaf, but it has a lot of depth to it, and it also just gets so big very fast. So it's definitely very fulfilling in that sense. I recommend this one for your plant collection. I don't think that it will ever go out of style. The next plant I want to talk about is the peace lily. The reason that I know that this will never go out of style is because it never has. There are some people who just don't like certain plants, right? Like I don't like certain plants, but you cannot say that peace lilies, when they get really big, are just so cool to look at. They bring this massive foliage vibe into your house. All the other plants I've talked about so far in this list are plants that I personally grow in a closed environment, but both of my massive peace lilies I keep out in my living room and they do amazing. I don't give them any extra humidity. The humidity in my house is like 30-ish%. I live in a desert in Idaho. If it does well here, I promise it will do probably even better wherever the heck you're at. Peace lilies grow really, really fast. They'll grow even faster if you cut the flowers off. And on top of that, if you just want to fill in a space in your living room or whatever, like I've gone more of a minimalist kind of vibe to my plant growing. There's not a whole lot going on anymore except for within my cabinet, but my peace lilies are two that I keep on both sides of my green vintage velvet couch, and it looks really good. So if you're wanting just something to bring lots of life in that's very easy to take care of, you do need to water peace lilies more than you need to water most of your other plants, especially if you are closed growing. Highly recommend peace lilies. They're so beautiful. They're really inexpensive. They're easy to take care of. They grow really fast. As long as you're watering it, it's gonna do great. I love peace lilies. People who don't like peace lilies just don't get them yet. I didn't get them. I get it now. The next one I want to talk about is a really special plant to me, and that's going to be the Dianedual. And this plant is a type of sago palm, I think. It's in that family at least. And this plant is poisonous for pets, so be careful if you have a pet that likes to nibble on your plants. Mine doesn't give a shit about my plants, so it doesn't really matter. This one is very unique. You'll usually see people having it as one leaf. It's very common. Whereas most plants people really like them to be very large. This specific plant, I've seen people just really like to keep them very small. At least, if not small, just one leaf on it. Mine, I hatched from an egg myself. I'm very proud of it. It is adorable. The first one that came out was kind of goofy, but the second one is just this beautiful, kind of like bendy, wavy plant. It's just so wonderful. It has a fuzzy stem, and it comes out of this teeny tiny little little nut. It's so cute. This plant, if you're into minimalism, putting it in an orange terracotta pot or a clay pot, I personally think just brings such a unique look to an area if you're trying to design in an area. Right now I'm trying to go for, in my actual living space that is not the closed growing, keeping plants that are more unique or interesting to look at and really following a very deep green and then orange terracotta-y vibe. To me, this one is like perfect. I freaking love it. It was hard to get to hatch, so if you want one that's like instantly gratifying, get one that's already been hatched, but it is easy if you are giving one a lot of light. Like, and I also hardly water it. I don't really know when you're supposed to water it, but I water it like once a month, and then that's been fine so far. So Dianedual is super fun. It's definitely a conversation starter. It's not a plant I feel like is very common to just see around. It's more of one that people kind of keep hidden away, and I just think it's because it's not that popular, but I personally think that this should be one of the trendiest plants ever. I love it. It's so awkward and cute, and I don't know, it's everything that the plant community is. So the next one I want to talk about is the variegated string of hearts. I don't think this one will ever go out of style because of the fact that it is so unique. Lots of plants like to grow up or you can trail them, but this one likes to hang. I feel like every time that a plant is a hanging plant, it's so much harder for people to decide that they're over it because you literally just put it in a pot and it gives you this beautiful like jungle cascade effect that you don't really get from a lot of other houseplants. I personally think the variegated string of hearts will stay around in trends longer than the normal string of hearts because there's like a purple and then a green variety. There's also the silver glory. What I'm talking about is very specifically your variegated string of hearts. I have a lot of these just around. I'm doing, I think, 3 starts right now. And then I have one really long one that I've had for over 2 years now that I'm super proud of. I love it so much. Variegated string of hearts are very easy to take care of. You just want to make sure that you're watering it whenever it starts to get thirsty, and you'll know it's thirsty because the leaves will kind of get pruny. I do recommend bottom watering this one and not top watering. I feel like every time one of these gets top watered, they just kind of get sad on the very top, and you want to make sure that the top is just as full as the rest of the vines on the bottom. But if you do top water it, it's going to be fine. Just try not to drown your plant. Variegated string of hearts have this really like pink, white, mottled look to them that makes the green just look very interesting in comparison to other long hanging plants, like for example, the string of pearls. So this is one that I think really honestly fits in everyone's collection. It's a very unique one that I feel like if you had someone walk into your house, they'd be like, oh hey, that plant is cool. And you'd be like, thanks, I know. The next one I want to talk about is obviously the Monstera and Raphidophora. So I actually don't have any more Monstera deliciosa in my home that are big enough to show you what one would look like. They were all back here, but I decided I wanted more of a minimalist vibe, and I really like a lot more of these other plants more right now than I actually do for the Monstera, so I actually gave mine away to some local babes. Monstera are such a timeless plant because they get so big. The fact that they have people call them like the turtle leaves or like the cheese plant leaves, people really like having that in their space. It's a very unique look because it just naturally has splits. There are other types of Monstera though, the Adansonii, the round and arrow and normal form, and then there's also Raphidophora. There's Raphidophora tetrasperma, Raphidophora pertusa, Raphidophora heyi. All of these different plants are super timeless and very common to have in collections right now. I think Raphidophora tetrasperma is my favorite out of, like, if I had to pick between a deliciosa, Monstera deliciosa, or Raphidophora tetrasperma, I would pick the Raphidophora because I can grow it in my cabinets, and that's kind of where I'm prioritizing growing right now, is cabinet growing versus. The second to last plant I want to talk about today is the Fiddle Leaf Fig. There is one right here behind me, and then there is one down here on the floor right here. This one's actually giving me 2 new leaves right now, which is adorable, and it's also sun-stressed. I should probably move it out of the direct light. Fiddle Leaf Figs did kind of go out of style for a bit for people who collect plants commonly, but for big plant collectors, this plant has never really gone out of style. This one, it grows decently fast as long as you're giving it enough light. You do have to remember to rotate it to make sure that it's not growing unevenly. Mine has grown unevenly in the past, so I had to turn it to make sure that it's no longer growing unevenly. It has such a beautiful deep emerald color, and the leaves can sometimes come in 2s, so you can get 2 leaves at the same time, which is super fun. When these plants get big, they get really big and they get really beautiful to look at. If you can grow one from a small size, you'll be super well rewarded within a couple of years. But if you want that instant gratification, you can expect to buy a full-size Fiddle Leaf Fig for anywhere from $80 to $350, depending on the size size that you're wanting. If you go to a more boutique plant store and they have a really large one, you might find yourself paying like $500 or $600 for a very, like, I mean very tall one. But other than that, this plant right now is not that expensive as compared to what it was in the height of the houseplant craze. The care for this one is very easy. I just make sure I water it every 2 weeks. I keep it away from vents. I keep it in bright light, and it does very well. People have talked about how this is a really fickle plant, and in the past I have had trouble with it, but this one I've already had for over 2 years now. It started shorter than me. Now it is taller than me. I think when I first got it, it was only this tall, and in 2 years we've come a long way, haven't we, Gloria? This other one I got because I was like, you know what, I want to start another little Fiddle Leaf Fig. I think that they're cute. I love them so much. They also can fruit, which is fun. The final plant I want to talk about with you today is the spider plant. I love spider plant. I specifically really love curly spider plants, but the only thing I love more than curly spider plants is mommy spider plants, which is where you have one big mother spider plant and a bunch of little baby spider plants. I love this because you can share with your friends so easily. You can also, like, I can cut these, and because of all the aerial roots here, I can put this right into any of my terrariums and it would pop off because of all the wonderful roots that this thing has going on. Hi! Raven is sunning herself right now. She's so cute. Spider plants are just great. Their care is so easy. They don't need super bright light. I keep mine kind of like behind my fiddle leaf, so it does get south-facing light, and then the little baby plants get light from the mother grow lights that I have on the inside of this cabinet. But other than that, it does really well. I've had this one for a super long time, and it survived my collection getting thrips and mealies, so safe to say she's here to stay. I would like a mother curly spider plant. You know what? We have like our whole life to collect. I'm not gonna rush things. So anyways, that is my video, 10 timeless plants for your houseplant collection. Thank you so much to Zimp for sponsoring this video. If you decide you want to get some glasses, don't forget to use code Ashley at checkout. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. It was nice to see your beautiful face. Give me an update on your life in the comment section, and I will respond to as many as I can.